Russian President Vladimir Putin, in his first public remarks on Ukraine's willingness to negotiate a ceasefire, expressing gratitude to world leaders, including US President Donald Trump and our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as well as Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. He has thanked them for their efforts in addressing the war. Listen in.
As for Ukraine's preparedness to cease fire, well, let me tell you, as I see it. But first of all, I would like to start with words of gratitude to the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, for paying so much attention to the Ukraine settlement. All of us have a lot on our plates, but many state leaders, the chairman of the Chinese People's Republic, the Prime Minister of India, President of Brazil and South African Republic, all pay a lot of attention and devote a lot of time to this issue, and we are thankful to them.
Well, some continue to argue that accepting the idea of a ceasefire is not accepting a ceasefire, and as predicted, Russia is delaying the entire process. But for further clarity, we have with us senior journalist Spencer Critchley. As always, Spencer, thanks so much for making time for us. Some analysts have called Putin's demands maximalist. Would you argue that they signal that Moscow could be slow-walking negotiations, biding for time as its troops make battlefield progress?
Well, yes, you absolutely have to assume that. With Putin, you always have to assume bad faith. He keeps teaching us over and over and over again, you cannot trust me. He doesn't just lie repeatedly, he performs his contempt for the truth. It's kind of typical of the fascist totalitarian that he is. Truth is very dangerous to totalitarians, so they're constantly looking for ways to destroy faith in the truth. More specifically here, in Ukraine, I believe Putin has already violated 25 previous ceasefire agreements. This idea even of negotiating with Ukraine about the invasion of Ukraine and the murder of its civilians and the abduction of its children and the commission of war crimes, the idea that this is somehow a negotiation as opposed to trying to expel that invader, it's kind of similar to imagine if violent thugs invaded one's house, murdered part of your family, and when the police arrived, they said, okay, well, you know, both sides have points to make here. Let's sit down and negotiate.
Absolutely. In fact, that is an argument many are asserting. So by avoiding an outright rejection of Trump's ceasefire proposal, would you say Putin appears to be balancing between not actually openly rebuffing Trump's push for peace while also imposing his own stringent demands?
Again, you know, I guess if I were going to give Putin any credit at all, it would be that I think he is way better at this than Donald Trump is. And I say that with the greatest regret as an American. So I don't imagine for a second that he thinks he's conceding anything to Trump. I think he thinks that he's controlling this negotiation. And for Trump to describe this response as promising, it's promising nothing. It just looks like yet another example of Trump's almost childlike naivety. He loves to present himself as the great deal maker, but he keeps being played for a fool in deal after deal.
As always, Spencer, thank you so much for joining us with your views. We will, of course, revert you for regular updates.